Guys, so something I want to talk about today is putting yourself out there and how it is literally the most important thing that you can do to scale your agency, yeah? And a perfect example of this is a situation that I just had with a client. So I was literally on call with them. I was on call trying to get an upsell, trying to get a testimonial, all that sort of thing. We fulfilled his batch, right? Fulfilled his order. That's the most important thing. If you aren't fulfilling orders, then you better start filling those orders. We fulfilled his order, wanted to jump on, testimonial, get an upsell. And I was just like, yeah, look, just wanted to jump on this call, just to quick video, verify that we provided legitimate service. He just flat out just said, no, I want to protect my reputation and it's not viable for us and all that sort of thing. And that's the type of thing that hurts you, man. It's like, you're putting yourself out there, right? You're trying to answer something face to face with someone and they're just like, nah. And then proceed to try and say how it's not viable and they're disappointed in what happened and stuff like that, right? And first and foremost, we fulfilled his order. We fulfilled the batch, fulfilled the order. That's the main thing. But the next thing from that is obviously wanting to make sure that the clients are happy. Yeah, client success is really important for upsells and all that sort of thing. The issue with his business, is that he basically had a YouTube funnel. He had white YouTube, and that just goes into they were just booking calls into his diary, inbound. So inbound, YouTube into his inbound pipeline, and they would basically just close, because they saw what he was doing, and YouTube straight to his pipeline, and he would close them. That's what he's usually used to. But with us, here's the rubber. With us and the leads that we're providing, we provide outbound leads, right? We provide appointments. So the way that it happens is that we'll call these leads, offering them to save money on solar. And then from there, they'll book in. And what he's expecting to do is just go there, go to the booking and close them, right? That's not the case, especially with, these are big deals, like these are 100K deals, £100,000 deals, It's not something that just happens overnight. And even if they did close them on the first visit, you still have DNO applications, which is like an application to connect to the grid. You have to get permission from the grid to actually draw the energy from them. So it's not like as simple as just booking in, going to the appointment and just closing it there and then with us, right? What it actually looks like is, especially with outbound leads, is you'd book in, you would go there, go to the appointment, you would build rapport, and then you would take them to the next step, right? You would take them to the next step. You would request info. Second appointment. You would then apply for planning. And from there, you do final visit. Final proposal, and have the board members involved, and you would take them through the process, right? Like micro commitments. What he's used to is someone at the very end of the cycle, just literally ready to go, yeah, here's my card, right? 100K deal. It's not how it works, especially when it comes to outbound leads. When you're when you're calling people up, trying to offer them to save money, you need to take them through the cycle. And the perfect example of why this wasn't a good fit for him is because he doesn't have anyone to handle his leads, right? So I was like, okay, who's handling these leads? Who's following up with these leads that we booked you in for? And he said, oh, that would be me. Okay, and he's the business owner. He is the business owner. And I'm telling you, as a business owner who's relied on outbound his whole life, right? He's trying to do some organic content now to get some inbound stuff. You have to follow up, You have to follow up. It's like rule number one, right? It's rule number one, following up with these leads. And he just doesn't have the infrastructure to deal with it, So that's the situation with him. But more back to putting yourself out there and trying to provide a good service, get testimonials, get social proof, all that sort of stuff. You have to put yourself out there, right? And there's a few different ways you can put yourself out there as an agency owner. Put yourself out there. First things first, yeah, is posting content. Posting content, that's one way that you can start getting leads. But you're not gonna get any leads if you're posting content where your clients aren't there, right? So for me, posting content on LinkedIn has been imperative for me to grow my solo lead generation agency. Posting content has allowed me to create over 5 figures a month, at least, low 5 figures a month, just by posting content on its own. LinkedIn on its own, that's where it is. But before, I was trying to post content on Instagram to get installers. I was like, it just didn't work because installers aren't on Instagram. Yeah, you got to find out where your audience is, right? It's good posting content, but make sure that you know where they are as well. So put yourself out there by posting content, that's first and foremost, but make sure that you are on the right platform, yeah? The next way that you can put yourself out there is by making cold calls. Making calls. Now, this is gonna be, especially for agencies, if you're an agency owner, this is gonna be the best way and the fastest way to money. Yeah, this is literally, you could make money today if you just start making calls. Guaranteed, this is the best way of putting yourself out there initially. And if you are scared to do it, yeah, if you are scared to make those calls and put yourself out there through cold calling, then there is a skill deficiency that you have right now, which is holding you back from making money. Yeah, I can guarantee you, you don't need to dress up your website anymore. You don't need to create a Claude platform. You don't need to do any of that BS, yeah? All you need to do is make calls to your ICP and book them in for sales calls. That's as simple as that. If I could give you any advice, that would be the main thing. Or, if you have a bit of capital behind you, then get some people to work for you. Get some people to make those calls for you. You can find people in Philippines, South Africa, same country as you. You can structure a performance-based offer so that, let's say, you pay per appointment, but you know if you get a certain amount of appointments, you're going to close X amount, so you can make it work within your margin. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it, but someone's got to be making those calls. You've got to be getting it in front of people. And then the final way, another way of getting in front of people, is cold email, right? Cold email. This has been like one of my best channels ever. Yeah, this would be one of my best channels ever. And the reason why is that it's a one-to-many approach. You can literally write one email. It's high leverage. You can write one email, and it can send out to up to millions. It can get up to millions of eyeballs. Just one email that you write. It is crucial. You need to learn cold email. And the way that you do cold email is gonna be on one of my next videos. So make sure you subscribe. Trying to get to 100 subs. Make sure you subscribe. This is gonna come out shortly, but this is another great way of putting yourself out there. And guys, if you don't do this, especially like when you're starting out with your agency, then you're just not going to scale. You're just not going to scale. And to get yourself off of the ground, you have to be doing this. But even if you are like a bit further ahead than just getting started and you might have a few staff members and stuff like that, promise you need to crank up the volume of this. But most importantly, what does this actually do? This creates more sales calls. Yeah, so this creates more sales calls, which is ultimately what you need more of. So let me just put this here. So sales calls is the real goal, right? So like the cold emails, they feed into that. The making calls feed into that, and the posting feeds into that, yeah? So it's all about the sales calls that you got on. So realistically, if this number increases either by you just filling up your calendar more, or you getting closers in and then filling up their calendars more. Usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this number increases, then money also increases at the same time, right? So the more sales calls you take, the more money you make. And what if your calendar's full? Like I just said, you get some closers in, and then they're gonna be taking those sales calls, and that's gonna be increasing your money. So really the goal is this, but putting yourself out there, right? That's what I mean by that is marketing, right? Putting yourself out there, getting eyeballs, that is the marketing. Now, posting content where your audience is, making calls to your ICP, cold email to your ICP, it's all gonna get you more sales calls, and the more sales calls you get, the more money you get, right? So this is why putting yourself out there is so important. It's the most important thing ever, right? Putting yourself out there, getting more eyeballs, doing more marketing, it's going to turbocharge your agency, right? So like I said before, if you want to learn how to do cold email, making calls, posting content, or just scaling your agency up to 100K a month, then just follow me here on YouTube. And I'm trying to get to 100 subs, so just make sure you get on it, yeah?